Alright, hey, what's going on YouTube? And I hope you guys are enjoying the content. I hope you guys are enjoying Monster Hunter Worlds. I hope you guys continue to find my channel and enjoy the videos that I'm bringing. I'm planning on bringing more videos like this and future content, whether it just be when it comes to the main story or hunts in general. I've been looking forward to this game. I love Monster Hunter Worlds, and this game is basically a continuation of that, so I've been looking forward to it. But to get to the video and not to jump around, this video is to cover the basics of certain weapons, well, all weapons for the most part, just the basics of them. If we want to go into advancements and you guys want that video, I will do it. I know there's plenty of better YouTubers that can cover that, but I at least wanted to put out a basic tutorial, because I have the general gist of a few of these weapons, not every single one. Mostly the switch axe, the dual blades, somewhat of the greatsword, and the bow at this point now because of my time. So let's get the basics down, show you some of the weapons, go through it together, kind of like a learning experience. So the first thing you're going to want to do is go to the training area. Ignore this, we're focusing on learning our weapon. If you want to learn your weapon, the first thing you always want to be doing is, we'll just skip this, the first thing you want to be doing is always go into your training area. If you're confused on whether or not what weapon to use, the game does a good job at the very beginning of giving you a practice dummy, but it's kind of stationary, it doesn't really work with you. And in here you have this giant machine that you can just pound at an attack, learn a more wide, thanks Luke, a more wide variety for terrain, I guess you could say. So to start off, we're gonna not focus on the switch axe because it's not probably the weapon that everyone's gonna pick. Everyone's probably gonna gravitate towards three weapons right off the bat, and that is probably gonna be your greatsword, your long sword, and your dual blades. Now, as you can see on the bottom left, there is a video that shows you the general gist of them. You could watch that if you want. And you don't even have to watch this video, but if you want a better idea and someone to go through it with you, I'm more than happy to do that with you as well. So we're going to start off with the dual blades just to begin. This got some changes through it, so bear with me. I do understand that the demon mode got changed a little bit, so standard, we're going to start with the basic combos before we even go into demon mode. As you can see, we got Y, 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 which I said 4 Ys instead of 3. And then you could do that, swap it, switch, keep it going, you know. You can do a B into a Y, twirl. That's what I used to like to do in Monster Hunter Worlds, was a nice little B, Y, B, continue my spin into this triple basic combo with the Ys. That's the general basics that you're going to get out of this. Your B combo stops right after the round slash. You're not going to continue. As you can see, I'm going to do it again. Nothing happens. Which is why I prefer trying to mix in the B at any point. Mixing it in, it doesn't matter when. As long as you are proficient and you're able to stay mobile, dodge the attacks, for instance, you'll be more than fine. Stay out of the way, hit the evade, you know, and then you can slide right back in. That's basically how you're going to want to play this. You're going to want to be fast, high damage priority. If you are a speedrunner, this is, and you've played like Dark Souls, for instance, this is like basically taking the Cell Sword Twin Blades, for instance. You just high damage very quick. We want to get in there. Next, we're going to go into Demon Mode. So, the Demon Mode, as you can see on the top right, we got Demon Fangs, Bang, nice little 3-piece combo with the Ys, little dash and spin. Demon Mode is dependent on your stamina gauge now, has always been actually, but you can see this nice little twirl. You got a way bigger range into what you're doing. And it's just a flurry of combos. Much faster, more damage per second, for sure. And you're just way more mobile. And even your evade is, as you can see there, you get further back. And if you're finding this, I'm probably going to post this on TikTok as well. All these are going to be split differently. So, as you can see, now we have a new glow. I'm not familiar with that yet. But it's a kind of, I don't even know what to call it, to be honest with you. I'm not familiar with that, but we'll go over that in an advanced video. I will learn, if I have to, if you guys would like to see that. Oh, that's what that is. Oh, well there you go. That's what the gauge is for. So, back to the demon combo. It's a filled gauge. That's the only thing that I'm aware of for the demon blade. So yeah. Basic combos. You're going to want to throw in a bunch of stuff. So, Y, into the blade dance. That's never been very fluid to me, even though the game recommends it. I don't think it's honestly, like, it's good. If you want to use it, go right ahead. Be my guest. But it doesn't feel fluid, where compared to this, into the YB feels way more fluid. There isn't like a pause as pungent as like in animation. Like, for instance, once I get the demon gauge up, like, look at that stop. There's a solid almost like half a second where if you do this, it's way quicker. It at least appears that way. So I don't know. I would recommend kind of mixing in your YB whenever you feel like it. So, but yeah, that's the basic gist of your dual blades. Like I said, slight change compared to how they used to be. You want to mostly mix this YB combo in when you have like your monster stunned or when they're flailing on the ground. That is mostly when you're going to want to mix in that combo. Otherwise, you are risking yourself to becoming a target and very vulnerable to that monster. Moving on to the longsword. This I have very little experience with, so please bear with me. I do not know the advanced combos with this, which is why we're going over basics. So, as you can see, we got a Y. It's a little slow compared to what I remember, but, you know, things change, and it is what it is. But we have an overhead into a B, mix that in. You got plenty of viable situations that you can do with this. You can throw in your R, E, continue. Oh, shit, my bad. That was actually kind of cool. You can do a rising slash. You can do a thrust from there. There's plenty of advancements that you can do, as you see here. As soon as I like start to charge, you were able to see on the top right that there's different weapon abilities that you could do. For instance, we're gonna just do a Y thrust into its spirit helm, and that is just your basic moveset that you got going on for this thing. I don't know enough about the weapon. It seems very easy to use. I am essentially just spamming this, and I can get the general idea as to already when you want to attack. You could tell from there, like, I am basically just flowing. Almost every button combination that I am doing is going into another attack, which is not the case for every single weapon. Anyways, that is basically what you're going to get. I don't have much information comparative to other longsword users on the weapon. Like I said, this is a basic tutorial of just showing you what the weapon can do. And hopefully give some advice. Now, what we got here is the third option that most people are going to pick. I was planning on dividing this into big bonk weapons, into quick DPS weapons, but, you know, it is what it is. Also, something I didn't mention, all these weapons have movesets with Sacred. I'm not really going to go over that because they're pretty basic, and, I mean, most of them are just jumping off. I mean, it's not really exactly worth it. One thing to know is you have a guard. Very nice guard. Very good. Helpful. I know you can counter off of this guard. Obviously, we can't necessarily do that right now. So, let's do the charge. It's basically, I don't know, I'll say about a 1, 2, 3, 4, almost 5 second charge. Probably closer to a 4. And it does a lot of damage. You're going to need to time that very well. That's going to be mostly situations in slower monsters. Good stun times when you can get a counter off. You can do a tackle. You go into a wide swing, you hit a tackle. Let's actually try to attempt to do this tackle correctly. Into a slide. And basic combos right now. I'm not doing anything super special. And yeah, that's the general gist. I mean, for the most part, the longsword is a big bonk weapon that I don't even understand fully. I have not done the advanced stuff with it, but plenty of other people have, and those people will have weapon guides for that, especially people like Fighting Cowboy. So moving on from the greatsword, we are going to move on to... We're going to move on to sword and shield. Let's focus on weapons in the basic order. Now, sword and shield, it's pretty straightforward. It's sword and shield. So, you have a chop. You have a charge chop, which is much cooler. Very situational. I can see the possibilities with it. I didn't think of... Honestly, I've never used the sword and shield, and that was like using the longsword. Everything just flowed very nicely. Honestly, if you were watching the video, go ahead and use what I am doing right now. This seems very viable. I'm not even joking with you. I'm not even saying it just to sound like I know what I'm doing. This seems very situationally viable, especially with lower tier monsters. When you get to the higher tier, it will be a different story. I promise I've never used this weapon in my life. So the fact that I even was able to pull off what I did is amazing to me. Into that. And that should stun the monster. It's probably like a pushback. I wish we had a physical monster in this training room. That would really, really help. Show the actual capabilities of this weapon. We'll do a backstep. I mean, that was entirely unintentional. This weapon is gonna be your like protect. This is exactly, if you're looking for something to protect you, but you want to remain mobile, this is exactly what you want. Obviously, like, sure, maybe you like the greatsword, but you like the big bonk, but it's slow. You like the guard. Honestly, I tell you, forget about the big bonk. And if you want to move fast, do this. Swap to sword and shield. This weapon is extremely fun. Like, I'm just doing basic stuff right now. And this is, in my opinion, a really fun moveset to play with. Extremely basic. You can literally use this weapon as if you are playing a fighting game. You just spam whatever move, and I can almost guarantee you're going to be okay. Very easy, very entry level for new players. I think anyone would, even advanced players, because I can tell there's way more capabilities with this weapon than what I'm finding right now in just the basic training of showcasing its basic moves. I 100% recommend this to any beginner and anyone that's wanting to play a little defensive and also very mobile and fast. If you think the dual blades are not cutting it for you, you're getting hit too often, but you want to remain mobile, still do that fast-paced damage, do a little bit more of an impact, please swap the sword and shield. I recommend that fully to you. And to be honest, that might be the next weapon that I use after I'm done with this run. Next weapon we have is the hammer. Now, the hammer, pretty basic. They did take some stuff away like before. I understand you could throw your teammates up into the air. That's a mechanic I wasn't aware of until recently because I've never played these games with other people. Well, I never played Monster Hunter World with other people. Unfortunately, this was a niche game until very, very recently. Anyways, so this is what we call bonk. Now, what do I mean by bonk? Well, I mean, do I have to explain? It's a giant bonk machine. So, hold, Y, smash, back. And that honestly flowed pretty easily. This is definitely a weapon that if you want to spend your time and you just want to hit the monster over the head, I didn't even mean to do that. I mean, if you just want to hit the monster, make numbers, big man go bonk, this is your weapon. Don't even, honestly, think about going for any other weapon than this, because at the end of the day, you're going to get big numbers, you're going to do a lot, you're going to continue being the force on the team. You're basically like the tank, you're the DPS, if we're talking about MMOs in this sense. Tanks remain doing big damage, but they also take the brunt of everything. So you are probably in good hands with this weapon if that's what you want. Now, there is one downside to this weapon, is the fact that you cannot sever the tail. Alright, so now we've discovered how to do Mighty Charge. You need a charge level 3, Y and B, and then release. And that is how you do a Mighty Charge. Pretty basic. Flow in any combo that you want. Y, B. Your Bs are going to be the brunt of the damage that you're doing. Overhead, overhead, overhead. And then one more overhead into a big overhead combo. Bs are going to be your continuous overhead. Y is going to be your side into uppercuts. So kind of mixing this in situationally is going to be very ideal. So yeah. Not really anything to talk about. The moveset is fairly basic. So yeah, also, you're not just the tank. You are also have mobility. You can literally hit B in your charge like this. As you can see, we're charging, and you see that B move right there, charged step? I'm gonna aim right there and hit him with a charged big bang, flow right into the next move. And if that didn't look good enough for you, I'm gonna try it again. Charge. Release. And then you get at least a second and a half wait time, and then you can go right into your next move. There's plenty of opportunities to do a lot of damage with this. Charge right in, upper swing, as you can see. Hit him with a charge again. You want to get out of there, you're realizing you're in a bad spot. There you go, you're out. So, as much as this seems like a very stationary, big bonk, take the damage type of weapon, nope, not the case. Get out of there, just like that. Lance, our big poke stick. So, the Lance. Your thrusting weapon. You get a shield. You get a guard thrust with it. You get a YB dash. You can hit it with a reverse attack. You can charge counter. Which, time this correctly, release. You'll knock the monster back. There is a correct term in the Monster Hunter community for it. I'm going to call it knockback. Because, I mean, that's just what makes the most sense. We're going to swap to a power guard, which then keeps us stable for a solid, I don't know, let's retest that. Let's see based on our gauge. Charge counter. That's about 2.5 to 3.5 seconds. That's not a bad amount of time, especially when you're expecting the monster. So say you're charging, you're ready for the counter. You want to do the counter. Maybe you don't feel comfortable in the timing. Swap real quick into the A. That'd be good. There's probably better situations that I'm not aware of where maybe the A is more viable than doing the counter. But knowing me and how greedy I am, I'd probably just try to do that. Like I said, we got a guard thrust. And as you can see, you can do a guard dash. Remain into guard. Then go into your dash attack. Hit it with the finishing move. Pretty basic. Keep thrusting, keep thrusting. You go into a charge, you hold, release. That is another one. We can do, as of right now, let's go into the leaping thrust. Into a Y, into a B. Back another Y. And that's pretty good. It hits about mid to low level. This is your high. Low, low, high. To a wide sweep. These are just basic, like, flowing combos. Every single weapon here, honestly, people like these guides, and I completely understand it. You spending... I literally cannot impress you how literally taking 2 seconds to stop what you're doing and go into your training room and taking time to practice. You can learn these weapons in no time. I mean, look at me. I'm an idiot, and I am doing fairly well. I think if you want to play a little bit slower, be a shield. This is the perfect tank class for you. Now, we're gonna move to the gun lance. The gun lance has got most change, like, I wouldn't say the most changes, but some of the more impactful changes. Now, you have a side step, a back step, and that's fine. You have a move called the lunging upward thrust. You have a lateral thrust 2 into a wyvern strike cannon, and it does that. Pretty basic, extremely straightforward. We'll do a worm stake full combo into a YB, into a Y, and that's what you're looking at. Very excessive, clean damage. Your weapon is going to be treated almost the same. You're going to be stationary. You're going to be basically the tank of the team unless you are very, very well equipped with this weapon. Now, what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is eventually you're going to get to a point with this weapon that you're going to be really good, that you're going to be able to move like a greatsword. You're not going to have to be stationary. You're not going to have to sit there with the shield all the time. You're going to be able to use the shield to your advantage with your mobility. So you can go into this and swap immediately into a guard and time your stuff. You don't even need to worry about counters and stuff compared to your other friend, your lance or your greatsword. What this is going to basically help you with is straight up you're going to be that damage guy once you get really good with it. Wyvern Fire, this is basically a bait move. You're far away. I mean, I'm not wrong. I don't use the weapon enough, but you can just tell by sitting here. What's up, Rathalos? Popped up, dead. You know, back off. That type of stuff. If you like guns, this thing is cool. If you want to protect yourself, there you go. You got a 2-in-1 deal for you. And you will have a blast. This weapon, more or less, is the weapon everyone's looking at right now because it's insane what they did for the changes. The weapon's extremely mobile now. Alright, and next we have the Insect Glaive. So, the Insect Glaive. It's been around for a bit. It's a nice little pole arm. But you can also kind of think about it as like the Twin Blade from Dark Souls. But it essentially is extremely mobile. This weapon is based purely on your mobility, just like the dual blades. You gotta stay fast, do high production of damage very quickly, not slow like the Greatsword. The Greatsword is a lot of damage in a slow time, as you can tell from the previous video. But this weapon also has plenty of moves. So let's do a vault into midair. Like, this is what you're here to do. You are to be the aerial guy doing a bunch of dances basically in the air. That's what the main appeal of this weapon is. That's why people love it. They even tried to change it, and basically the fan base was like, nope, won't be touching the weapon. And as soon as they heard that, they went back and there were changes, and now you, as a glaive user, have your cool little tornado move. And again, this is just another weapon that with due time, you're gonna flow, understand the moveset. I'm literally here, you've seen me hold the weapon for a solid minute, and everything just makes sense. This weapon is very fun to use. I've seen plenty of moves done with this that are insane, that I would never expect people to do. We got a nice little mid-air that I'm going to show off to you. And that's the general gist. I mean, the less that you're on the ground and the more you're up in the air, it leaves you with opportunities to continue to do damage and leave yourself in an evasive situation that the monster can't really do anything with. It's purely based on your stamina, so taking advantage of your food, resources, and maintaining that stamina bar is going to be extremely helpful for you. Let's try out the leaping strike. Let's try it out a little bit closer. Nice little thrust move into the monster. So that's how you do that. And back off. Nice little evasiveness on top of what you already have. So yeah, this is going to be a fun little weapon. Definitely very anime. And if you love that, then this weapon's for you. I honestly, there's not a single weapon in here that I, on this list, wouldn't recommend to someone personally. Every weapon that you've seen here is extremely fun. So, Charge Blade. Charge Blade is what you may think is the Switch Axe. It's not the Switch Axe. I, as a newer player, a while ago, was like, what is the difference? There is a big difference. You start with a sword on this one. And you are charging up your files the entire time with this sword. As you can see, now we're red on the files. We're going to hit a B release into a charge. Oh, I messed that up. Whoops. Okay, so down, release, into a discharge, wild swing, into an element discharge, follow up. Very difficult to pull off and situational. Now we're in an axe form. We want to keep swinging Here's some basic combos that you can see that I'm pulling off. You primarily don't want to be using this weapon when you don't have the file or the element charges. Primarily because that is the whole stick with this weapon. You want to charge this up, maintain those files, take advantage of the axe form when files are used. Other than that, I mean, you can guard as well with this, but this is a very difficult weapon for people to understand. I mean, this weapon there's a lot to it. You got files, you got several modes, as you can see in the top left. You got a shield, you got a sword, and then you got an axe. And maintaining all of that can be very difficult for people, especially myself, as you can see. I'm not having the easiest time with it, so stay in this. So this is slightly different than the other situations with the shields. So this, for instance, it's letting you know charge, and then it's showing you, but it's letting you know you have to remain in the shield. Where you saw earlier, I was holding shield, and I was doing this, and it was requiring me to release. Keep that in mind with this weapon, that is a very different situation. We're going to do a return stroke. You can also hit into a YB. Do a sword shield thrust. Swap back into axe mode. You can remain in axe mode if you want, if you like the extra range that it gets you. Sure, go ahead. I mean, I love the switch axe for this exact reason, for the range. This definitely does seem a little bit longer in comparison to just a bit. But the main attraction with this is not the actual axe mode once you have your files empty. You want to charge those up, and that is the appeal of your axe mode. My weapon that I am currently using, the switch axe. Now, the switch axe is different. So you are primarily in axe mode. The goal is to be in sword mode. You want to be in sword mode. But there's one slight issue. Is in axe mode, you have range, you have several combos, and you want to be constantly swapping between both. That is the goal with the switch axe. It's in the name. Is to remain constantly swapping between both to get the most bang for your buck, I guess you could say. Switch axe is very fast, high lunge, extremely high-paced, big damage weapon. You may feel like you're slow with it. I mean, for sure. I mean, look at me in sword. We'll just swap to sword mode, for instance. Look at me with it. Very, very slow. Like, not super slow, but slow. We swap to axe mode. A little bit faster, but still somewhat slow. Comparative to weapons like the dual blades or the sword and shield, which are smaller weapons for sure, but their examples still to be shown off. This weapon is extremely fun once learned. Like I said, you want to be swapping between the two. You have different ways of using this weapon. You can transform back. You can do an overhead. Swap. Oh, God. Let me not hit the back of this thing. Every move that you have can swap up a lot of what's going on for you, just based on positioning. For instance, let me swap back to the axe. Overhead. Fade back. See? Into a Y. Now I want to fade slash back. Get back in. Swap. And keep swapping. And on the left side you can see where there's a sword gauge. That's my blade. You want to keep pushing through. You want to keep both of these charges. That's how you maximize your damage. Swap right here. Hit him with a combo. Elemental discharge into them. If If you get them in the right spot, you can even hop on. And then when you hop on, you'll exert a file charge into them. It also has a recharge, but that's because it's files. Once you discharge, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. You gotta recharge once you exhaust all the files. Maintain that. That is the only downsides of the weapon, and the only time that will break your combos. Making them flow is when you have to recharge after you exhaust all of them. We will cover the hunting horn. I'm gonna be a nice guy. I've never used the weapon. I don't necessarily care for the weapon. This is basically your buff. So we're going to go ahead and hit him. So you have a melody gauge on the top left underneath your sharpness. Self-improvement, sure. And by doing your combos, it appears to me that all this does is essentially buff your team, buff yourself, also impact damage to the monster. Actually doesn't even seem that bad. So if you wanted to run this, I don't see why you couldn't. If throwing a giant saxophone at the enemy is what gets you going, have fun. This will buff you, buff your team. And I'm sure you'll like it. Alright, and then you got the light bow gun. Now, you can get different ammo types. That is not what I'm going to be showing off here. We're just going to focus on the actual weapon, what the weapon does. So, you can just fire it. It does 3-shot. Nice little shot there. You can charge up, do an eagle strike. You can reload, switch modes, go into a burst mode, burst step. Can't burst step backwards, you can only burst step forwards. Alright, so then we have the light bow gun. Light bow gun, pretty straightforward. Hit it with B. It's just a giant weapon that, well, not giant weapon, but it's a light machine gun basically that you can do a bunch of bursts with. Extremely straightforward. It's essentially a gun. I personally am not the biggest fan of it. You got also the eagle strike, which is one big burst. I mean, use it if you like it. I mean, if you're into guns and shooting a monster with essentially a gun is your thing, be my guest. I'm not going to tell you not to, you know? But it's not for me, personally. So, I hope you guys enjoy it. But, I probably won't. It's just, not doing it. Alright, and then we got heavy bow gun. Very different. Way less mobile. It also a 3-shot. You got a wyvern howl, which appears to just open up a wound, which is really good. But you're extremely slow, even dodging or outside of your aim. So use this at your own discretion. By far, this is the slowest weapon that you could use, in my opinion, just based on what we've seen here. You do have a guard, which is nice, but you are extremely at risk. You get a full auto mode, essentially. The recoil, though, is insane. You get a wyvern counter ignition, which is definitely when an opportunity for when the monster attacks. You time it right, you can just hit your wyvern counter ignition right then and there. Do a little sidestep, focus blast, bam. Swap the modes again, see if there's anything I missed. Hit him with wyvern ignition, out of range supposedly. But yeah, that's the general gist of those two. Now let's focus on the last weapon, which is my secondary weapon, the bow. So the bow, very, very fun in my opinion. Some people call it the cheap weapon, which I would say about the other weapons. You get power coatings and then you get standard weapons. You get a ready tracer now in this game, which I could literally just, let me aim there. They just follow, which is dope. So you can, if you're aware of where the monster's weak points are, you can do that. You have an arc shot now. So like if a monster's running away, you can slightly move this, predict where they're going to go. Or say they're heading towards an environmental, you can knock that down as they're going and remain, keep hitting them for damage. You got a hailstorm into a charged step. Maintain that damage, keep it going. Do a standard dragon piercer. That's the charged one, unfortunately. That's much longer. Oh no, it's about the same. Wait, I thought there was a difference. Now, I personally would recommend doing your charge shot when you're perfectly aimed onto the monster, or in this case, when you have a tracer on the enemy. It just makes more sense. Makes it very easy for you to continue doing damage at a high rate. And then you also have that jump dive at the monster as well that you can do after firing. Dragon Piercer, sorry. Out of your charging sidestep. That is the general gist of the bow. But yeah, I hope you found my run-through of these weapons somewhat helpful. They're obviously not the best. I'm not the most well-versed in every single weapon. I can tell you and show you what I'm doing with each weapon, but is it going to be extremely useful to you? No, because I personally feel, and this might sound like cop-out to some people, but not to me, that everyone has their own way of playing, and that's how they should play. Because at the end of the day, finding what works for you is what's best. So just because someone tells you that you should be doing a certain combo with the dual blades or with the switch axe, doesn't mean that is the ideal combo for you or what works for you. Doesn't mean that it's the best. Doesn't mean that it is what is gonna work in every situation. It's not how it works. Never will that work that way. It just, at the end of the day, it is what you find is the most helpful. So this quick rundown of these weapons, I hope was helpful for you, and I hope you found the weapon that you think is going to help you best. But with that said, I am going to let you guys go. This video took way too long to record, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.